I originally decided to pursue the PMP because I wanted to join the PMO team at my company. At the time, I was already working alongside project managers, coordinating projects, managing stakeholders, supporting large technology initiatives, and doing many of the things project managers do every day. But I knew that if I wanted to be competitive for a formal project management role, I needed something that would validate the experience I had already built. So I set a goal: earn the PMP. A few months later, I passed the PMP on my first attempt. Not long after earning the certification, the opportunity that I was hoping for finally came. I was offered a role within the PMO team I had hoped to join. But here's the interesting part. And honestly, you probably wouldn't believe me if I told you this, but the very same day that I was offered the PMO role within my organization, another opportunity presented itself. An entirely different organization offered me an even better project management opportunity on the same day. I mean, I remember sitting thinking, wow, is this really happening? And honestly, that's one of the biggest lessons that I took away from this entire experience. Sometimes God asks us to do our part first, to prepare, to learn, to stay consistent. And then He opens up doors we couldn't even have planned for ourselves. Today, I'm sharing exactly how I passed the PMP while working full-time, raising two children, taking graduate classes, the resources I used, my study plan, what I would do differently, and why this certification ended up changing my career trajectory more than I had ever expected. The three resources that helped me the most. Number one, Andrew Ramdayal's PMP course on Udemy. Number two, PMI Study Hall. Number three, practice questions and practice exams. Those were the three resources that carried me through most of the PMP journey. My PMP timeline. I first decided to seriously pursue the PMP around June 2025. And if I'm being honest, I didn't become truly consistent until around August. I submitted my application in September and sat for the exam on October 30th, 2025. Throughout that entire period, I was working full-time. I was taking graduate classes. I was raising two young kids. I was managing a household, right? And supporting my family, really doing the day-to-day tasks that is required of a wife and a mother, and trying to maintain some level of balance while doing all of this. So I wasn't studying under perfect conditions. And that's something I really want to emphasize because I know many people delay goals while waiting for life to slow down, but the truth is life may never slow down. There will always be another responsibility, another obligation, another reason to wait. Eventually, I realized I needed to stop waiting for the perfect time and simply start. My study plan and resources. I like to think of my preparation in 4 phases. Phase 1, learning the material. My first goal was to simply complete Andrew Ramdayal's PMP course on Udemy. I know some people speed through the course just to obtain the required education hours, but that was definitely not my approach. I genuinely wanted to understand project management. I took notes, I created note cards, and really focused on understanding the concepts rather than rushing through the material. And whenever I wanted a deeper explanation of a topic, I would watch David McLachlan's YouTube videos. His ability to break down concepts and explain PMI thinking was incredibly helpful. Phase 2, understanding the process flow. One resource that made a huge difference for me was the PMP process mapping game. I originally discovered it through Max Miles' PMP video. While I understood many of the individual processes, I struggled to understand how everything connected together. The process mapping game helped me visualize the project lifecycle and understand where everything fit. And that resource was a game changer for me. Phase 3, review and reinforcement. I also purchased the PMBOK guide because I assumed that it would be my primary study resource. But to be honest, I found it difficult to learn from directly. For me, it worked much better as a reference guide than a teaching tool. The Andrew Ramdayal's PMP exam prep book ended up being much more useful for review because I already understood the concepts. The book helped me reinforce what I had already learned through his courses, and it gave me additional opportunities to practice as well. Phase 4, exam readiness. This is where PMI study hall became extremely important. I didn't start using the PMI study hall heavily until the final 2 or 3 weeks before my exam. And looking back, I wish I had started sooner because study hall helped me understand the style of questions that appear on the actual exam. And it helped me develop the PMI mindset, which also Andrew's courses also touches up on that as well. So that was also helpful in getting familiar with that mindset. But the PMI really digs deeper and provides those questions where it prepares you more for answering within that mindset. My study schedule. Most of my weekdays looked something like this. I would go to work, right? I would go to work 8 to 4, 9 to 5, pick up the kids, take them to activities, make dinner, help with homework, and then get the kids settled and, ready for the evening or ready for bed. And then once the house was finally quiet, that's when I would actually study. So there were nights when that wasn't until around 10 p.m. at night or 11 o'clock at night. And there were also nights when I couldn't even really count on that because at the time I was working as a technology consultant supporting hospital systems within my local area. And my team, which was a group of technology consultants, we were on call for technology issues, which meant I could get paged at any time, whether it's 7 p.m., midnight, or 4 a.m. There were nights when I would finally sit down to study only to get interrupted by a call about a system issue that needed immediate attention because it impacted patients directly. And so, yeah, it was exhausting at times, but I finally just started scheduling my study weeks around my on-call rotation. Looking back, that experience taught me something important. You don't need perfect conditions to pursue a goal. You simply need to keep showing up. And that's exactly what I did. I just kept showing up. If I had to drink matcha late at night to get the energy so that I can make sure I got at least 2 hours of study, that's what I did because I was determined to pass this exam. Exam day. Going into exam day, I definitely wasn't feeling overly confident. I felt prepared, but I honestly believe the outcome could go either way. That morning, I kept things simple. I had my matcha to make sure that I stayed, strong and awake during the exam. I ate a light breakfast so I didn't get hungry during the exam. I focused on staying calm and mentally sharp. And of course, I prayed. I tried to give everything to God in all that I do. And this was definitely no different. I had put in the work. I had prepared as best as I could. And at that point, I trusted God with the outcome. Whether I failed or passed, whatever He wanted for me, that was what was going to happen. If I had to take the test again, that was what I was going to do. So I just really, at that point, trusted the process and trusted in Him. What surprised me the most was that I didn't feel like I knew every answer, but instead I relied on the mindset and the decision-making framework I had practiced throughout my preparation, right? That PMI mindset that I keep talking about. By the end of the exam, I felt cautiously optimistic, but I was still incredibly relieved when I saw that I had passed. What I would do differently. The first thing I would do differently is start practice questions earlier. The second thing is spend more time focusing on agile. Going into the exam, I expected a heavier emphasis on predictive project management, but instead I found that a significant portion of the exam focused on agile concepts and agile decision making. But fortunately for me, I had obtained my Scrum Master and Product Owner certifications the previous year. So that knowledge helped me tremendously during this exam. The final thing, and honestly one of the most important lessons, is that I would spend less time trying to memorize and more time understanding the PMI mindset. The PMP is not a vocabulary test. It's not going to test you on definitions and terminology. It's about understanding how PMI expects project managers to approach problems and make decisions. So take the time to understand the PMI mindset and how PMI expects a project manager to respond in various scenarios. Once I understood the mindset, everything became much easier. Was it worth it? For me, the answer is absolutely yes. It was absolutely worth it. And this is where I come back to my original story that I shared in the beginning. One of the reasons I pursued the PMP was because I wanted to position myself for an opportunity within the PMO team, within my organization. That was my goal, right? That was the door that I was knocking on. Not long after earning the certification, that opportunity eventually presented itself, right? It eventually came, and I was offered a role within the PMO team that I had hoped to join, but there was that other amazing opportunity, right? That other amazing part that I was talking about, where on the very same day, another job came along, another job offer with another organization that aligned even more closely with my long-term goals and offered greater growth potential. I ended up accepting that role instead, right? So the PMP wasn't the only reason those opportunities came, but it helped position me to be ready when they did come. Looking back, the PMP didn't just help me achieve the goal I originally had. It expanded my options beyond what I had imagined. And even if the PMP doesn't immediately change your career, the process of committing to a goal, following through, and investing in yourself is valuable in its own right. Investing in yourself doesn't just open the doors you're knocking on. It opened doors you weren't even looking for. If you're currently studying for the PMP, I hope this video encouraged you. Remember, you don't need perfect circumstances to pursue an important goal. Progress happens one study session, one chapter, and one day at a time. And sometimes the goals we pursue end up leading us somewhere even better than we originally planned. If you have any PMP questions, please leave them in the comment section below. I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. And if you would like more content on project management, career growth, faith, and navigating the season of your life, I'd love to have you subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.